Now, the track record of law enforcement agencies to fight corruption and successfully prosecute powerful politicians and business people for corruption has been proven near impossible in South Africa. In fact, instead, most of these institutions have been used to protect wrongdoers and persecute those who were fighting corruption. So what's the answer? And can a new super agency do what the NPA and other specialized institutions simply have not been able to do? To unpack this, I'm joined by the former National Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Willie Hofmeyer. Very quickly, in a word, is the new super agency the answer? You just heard me trying to get an answer from the SIU spokesperson around whether or not a report which finds irregularities in a 30 million rand contract, whether that has been shared with the NPA, and presumably because they're the prosecution's authority, they will then have to decide to expedite matters. You also heard Jesse Duarte saying that often these cases go on forever. And people who stand accused say that if justice isn't seen to be done, it is being denied. Can a super agency do what these existing agencies haven't been able to do?
I think that there is a good argument for a single agency to deal at least with the top end or serious corruption issues. And that's simply because the volume and size of those cases often overwhelm agencies that have a whole range of other cases that are easier to do, and being humans, we tend to do the easier cases rather than the difficult ones. But I think it's also important that we should have a single place that focuses not just on the investigation and prosecution, but also ensure that there are proper measures taken for prevention of corruption. And I think for those reasons, I'm pretty persuaded that we should consider a single dedicated anti-corruption agency very seriously now.
Now, if we set up this new structure with the same people who are in the existing structures, are we not condemning that structure before it even gets on the ground? And the reason why I say this is because you have quite a few rotten apples in several of these institutions. We saw last week the former head of crime intelligence, Richard Mdluli, being sentenced for criminal acts. We know that the de Kock report has fingered several senior prosecutors, including two provincial prosecutors, for essentially breaking the law. How do you start a new agency with a severely compromised staff at all of these agencies?
One of the suggestions that I'm making to the Zondo Commission is that we do need much, much tougher integrity measures when it comes to law enforcement appointments. And I do think that the technology is there to do it. It's really a question of whether there's the political will to ensure that everybody who is investigating corruption goes through an intense integrity testing process themselves to make sure that we don't have people in our agencies who end up working for the wrong side.
Okay, so who is going to have to do the integrity check?
I think that's an issue for debate. I mean, my suggestion is that one probably should have an independent agency, something like an IPIT type body, but its focus is essentially on the whole of law enforcement and everybody who investigates corruption. And that probably should include private forensic firms who very often end up doing a lot of the investigation of corruption themselves. And we've seen that there's severe problems there.
All right, so Mr. Hofmeyer, we're unfortunately out of time. I'm going to have to invite you back. We try to pack in as much as we can. Next week, hopefully, we're going to have the Commissioner of Police here, Mr. Kehla Sitole, who promised us within 2 weeks he will get a report from his provincial commander with regard to someone in the supply chain procurement measures there, who is still in his job, and serious allegations of corruption made against him. You've had your fix for the week. See you again next week. Thank you so much for watching.